What's poppin', y'all? This Steve Will Do It situation with the Logan Paul podcast has continued to develop, and we're getting more news, apologies thrown on both ends. And this started off with an explanation from Majlak, for why he brought Steve Will Do It on. I had said that he was the one that brought him on, and then we saw Steve Will Do It just have a wreck of a place. I covered it in the previous video. But Majlak would come on Twitter and Twitter X and say the following. Regarding the Steve episode, I wouldn't usually do this because 1, it's not a big deal, and 2, the internet is completely incapable of critical thinking and just roots for their favorite character. So true. And so I've given up on explaining ish, but if you want to dive in and try to understand, then here you go. That's exactly what we want to do. Come on, I like to think of myself as a fair guy, right? Well, I actually don't want to hear your opinion on that. I've already got my own opinion. Yeah, I am a fair guy. I personally invited Steve on the show. Steve and I are very good friends offline, contrary to what parasocial fans may think. And in one of the texts that Steve showed, and I said this in my previous video too, on July 25th, he was being reached out to by Majlak. And he was like, hey, bro, you good? Just like holler at me, text me, call me if you ever need anything. And that was far before this podcast came out. And it was before he got unbanned too. So it just goes to show that Mike was thinking about him, and it wasn't some situation, some headline that he could benefit from. It was just on some friend stuff. Now, granted, him doing that on the podcast, I did say it comes off as performative, and I do think he is performative. But, that's not necessarily it has a negative connotation. I agree with that, but it doesn't mean he's a bad guy. Midway through the show, Steve started drinking heavily. While I don't love it for him right now in his life, well, when has there been a time in his life when this guy wasn't drinking? It's part of his brand and his decision. Shortly after, he started saying things that in no world could see the light of day without destroying him. And this is where I got to give some credit to Majlak, is what we're seeing, we're already thinking that was bad. We don't know what we haven't seen. And we don't assume that there are things that were cut out that would make Steve look worse than he already did, because we're like, damn, Steve looks terrible here. So that's one of the things that we got to take into note before lambasting people and just saying like, yeah, these guys screwed this person over. Well, we don't know how much worse they could have screwed him over. To protect Steve and his new return to having a YouTube channel, we had to fine-tooth edit the episode, cutting over 20 minutes of what he said, basically ruining the cadence and making it look more aggressive on our parts. In reality, Steve said a lot, and we just couldn't air it, literally, on any platform, ever. The last thing I wanted was for him to get banned before even putting a video out. Eventually, Logan asked Steve politely to just pull it back a little bit, which for a second he did, but then got back to the BS soon after. Steve wasn't kicked off the show or asked to leave at any point. It did feel like that, though, because Mike was like, okay, yo, show him out of here. But perhaps that was just a cut, and he said he was going to leave. It looked like he got kicked out because Logan got really, really irritated. And I said Logan was justified to get irritated. His patience was wearing thin. Contrary to what Clippers make it seem, things cooled down and he out of nowhere just got up and decided he was done. We shook hands, everything was fine, and we just felt very down and awkward. Logan had his reaction to this, and I had mine. If you watched the whole episode, which I'm sure many didn't, you saw numerous times that I tried to help Steve explain something, calm the situation down, and offer him grace at the end of the episode that maybe he just had a bad day. This is the problem. This is where I criticize Steve Will Do It. This guy's getting too much grace. Like I said, Steve Will Do It is Kodak Black. He's the white Kodak Black. That's probably why they get along. He got Kodak Black that car with the spinners. This guy is just out of it, consistently saying the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing. And I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he's a good-hearted guy. Genuinely. But it's like, dog, how much are you going to keep screwing yourself over with what you say and your behavior? We're not going to be talking about a grown man that's 27, 26, 27. Like, you're not freshly 21. You're just learning to take your liquor, behaving in this manner. And even if he was 21, it's like, dog, you don't learn from the first time? Now, the big question, why air the episode? I think this was a good question. Well, transparently, this one is on me, and I'll own that. A lot of work goes into these episodes. People fly all over the country. We spend $10,000 plus to shoot them and spend our time making them great. Since he was my guest, I felt responsible for the time and money being spent. I guess I felt like if enough was cut out, Steve would be protected and the audience would get an episode to talk about. Plus, it would drive some discussion around mental health and substance. I don't see. This is the ending part where we're talking about. I feel like it's kind of performative, but this is just a complete gut feeling that I have about it. Because if we're being objective, it did lead to a discussion about mental health and substance. Because the way I was talking about Steve Will Do It is I'm saying like, yo, this guy's the YouTube Kodak Black, which means he's got to get it together. The way that he's using substances and like whatever his mental is at, he seems happy, but this guy looks terrible. And not look as in visually, but the way he's behaving and what he's saying. Looking back, maybe that wasn't the right move here. Hindsight is 2020. I'm with Mike on this one. It's difficult. He called and he even talked about it. He's like, listen, he was trying to explain it to Logan at the end in the clip. And you could really tell like he felt guilty about bringing him on. He's like, man, I didn't think it was going to turn out like this. I'm going to take responsibility for it. So he's being accountable for bringing the guy on. And if money is spent, I think he's looking at it like, damn, I'm kind of like, not only did we have to spend money on this, but I also brought this guy on and he was my guest and it was a bad podcast episode. So for me to also ask for us not to air it, that's like a big ask. That's what I'm guessing. But if Logan was the one that was saying like, yo, we shouldn't air this, and Steve insisted, then, or not Steve insisted, and Mike insisted, then I'm looking at it like, you shouldn't have insisted there. You should be like, okay, like you gave me an out here. So that's just one detail that I would like. And hindsight is 2020. Like we're watching this and we're like, damn, this looks bad. But I think I even said it. I was like, yo, he needs to look like this to maybe get it together. But I don't think he's going to get it together. Steve and I connected last night. We are completely fine and there's no static, nor is he hurt or upset in any way. The blowback here fits perfectly into his messy, must-watch brand direction. We don't need this. Like there's messy and must watch, and then there's a guy that's just disrespecting people inviting him. And this is also another thing where how many times does this have to happen before a Mike is looking at him like, dog, you've done this to me 3-4 times. Like that was crazy disrespect. Like I can't mess with that. Because if he just keeps apologizing, he's like, okay, we patched it up. I just think that's what allows him to continue this behavior. But hey, listen, that's not my homie. I don't know what's going down there. Regardless of what y'all think, I love Steve and want nothing but the best for him. I believe that wholeheartedly. I said that even in the last video. And have for some time been trying to help him get better. I personally will own the mistake of the episode going out, and that's where we're at. Can't be perfect all the time. Happy Thanksgiving. See you next week. I think this is an authentic response from Mike Majlak. Like I said, I hold pretty much every opinion that I did in the previous video about this situation. Like I said, slightly performative, but I think he's consistently been like that. I said he was a good friend, and that's that. However, Steve Will Do It would respond on IG to this whole situation and clear a couple things up again. And then he says, so I go viral on the internet for one, getting upset LeBron James talks to Corinna. He's talking about Corinna Koff, the influencer, for 1 minute during a game. I stand on that. LeBron, focus on the game. I think this is funny. You've got LeBron fans are crazy. They're nuts. And it's also a meme. I think this was a good moment for Steve. Like, that's a good viral moment because you've got Corinna, you've got the white girl dynamic with LeBron because LeBron fans are always like, yo, he's always like buddy with these white chicks, whether it be, in this case, Corinna Koff before, yes, Jules. And then there was also a really popular one where he was with the owner's daughters, I think, or is the owner a woman now? But anyway, a blonde woman, and he's just talking to them. And, you know, they try to spin it up into something crazy. Austin Reeves trying to F my girl, considering all the time, at the time, all I did was post about how he was my favorite player. Stand on it. F you, Austin. Sure. I mean, I guess. Logan Paul getting mad at me for saying the N-word. Yep, stand on it. So remember when in the last video I was like, okay, this guy rips the hard R the first time, and then they continue, and then he says something else, and then Logan is like, okay, that's my line. So what I thought it was that he talked about Logan's wife and maybe like threw in another hard R in there or something like that. I didn't think it was solely just repeating what he had said prior, or maybe in a different context. And he knew that he would censor it afterwards or cut it out afterwards. So that's why I found it a bit bizarre that Logan reacted that angrily. And I still find it kind of confusing for Logan to have that type of reaction if all he did was, quote unquote, just say a slur. Because Steve, that's not even close to the level of disrespect that Steve was issuing to them. right? Because the slur that he's saying isn't directed at Logan. Logan, do a fraction of what I have done for black people or have been in the community. See, this guy sounds drunk. Just type in this. Like, look, try to read this. And he did ask if this was a funny clip. He's like, yo, you guys don't got any black employees. And then he's just asking people like that work there, and they've got this crew of 7-8 people. So that was a moment that Steve had on there. And he says, then be the white person sticking out for black people. Stand on that too. Maybe do something for the Japanese, Logan. Now this is funny. This is really funny. This is hilarious. The last sentence in particular. I think like Steve gets away with a lot because, like I said, he's a good-hearted guy. So even if he says certain things, you're like, but I still think the dude's a crash out. But now I wonder how this works because Mike is cool with Steve. He's like, listen, we patched everything up. Everything's cool. Yet this guy's still going in on Logan. And he's going in on Logan for Logan did nothing wrong. And keep in mind, I would be the first to go off on Logan if I felt like he was doing something crazy. But Logan did nothing wrong, didn't react terribly in any type of way, held composure. So yeah, if he feels some type of way about you ripping the hard R, he feels that type of way. And who are you to bring it on him and be like, well, like I give away a lot of money and I help people and you don't, so you should be okay with me talking like this. It's like, what? But like I said, still in my brain, I cannot put it together that was what Logan was so bothered by, that it was the last straw that he wouldn't cross. And on top of that, when it comes to the whole Japanese thing, that happened damn near 10 years ago. And of course, it was bad. And it depends. I don't even think people have heard my take, but I think Logan Paul, when you're in a place where he was, you're not even thinking about humanity. He's just thinking like, yo, this would be a crazy moment. And it's not like he laughed at the situation or made fun of it. I'm not defending the video. What I'm defending is the fact that we saw Logan change in real time. And people could say like, oh, he became more fake and PR or whatever, but we saw the change. We saw the guy was remorseful. We saw his content change. We saw him change. We saw him get healthier. We saw him just like change, get more professional. We saw him get into like a couple different relationships. We saw the maturity. You could tell like, hey, this guy has completely changed. And he built up a lot more of relationships after that. He patched up beefs that he had with people like KSI, for instance. So we saw years of Logan getting better and demonstrating through his behavior that like, hey, I'm regretful for this and I'm going to show you guys how great I am now. We have not seen that with Steve. Like Steve he's been generous, of course, and he's given out a lot of things and, at times he's funny, but this guy's been like a drunk crash out saying crazy stuff for the past several years and being upset and calling out Mr. Beast when it's like, dog, why? How is a guy fake because he couldn't get you unbanned? Like, that's a big ask. It's hard to get you unbanned. Like, especially you. Like, it's not like, a goody two-shoes got banned. But yeah, let me know what y'all think about this in the comments. I think this is going to be an interesting next couple of months for Steve Will Do It. But hey, at least he's got motion again, right? Now he's going to be able to upload. I just hope he doesn't do anything that's out of bounds of YouTube. I do not want to see the guy get banned. It hurts my heart when I see people get deplatformed. It really does. Depending on how evil, like if a person's not calling for crazy violence against people, I'm like, come on, man. Or if they're not repeatedly doing stuff, like you could tell the deplatforming or the ban from YouTube, not deplatforming because he was allowed on other places, but the ban from YouTube for Steve was like they just clapped him right away. It wasn't like he got a strike and he was like, okay, let me do the same thing 2 more times like some people did in the 2020 era. But let me know what y'all think in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed, and I'm gonna see y'all in the next one.